Welcome to the WanderLearn show. I'm here with Elmer in San Francisco, and I'm house sitting, having a great time, and I'm going to introduce you to an episode with Johnny Ward where we talk about international relations and what he learned from traveling all around the world, because he studied international economics and then he's traveled around the world. How does academic truth match with reality? But first, some bad news from Mount Everest. 4 people have died. That is the bad news. 3 of them were Sherpas who were setting up the lines on Mount Everest right through the Khumbu Icefall. And Johnny was talking about how he had to basically look at the spot where they died and go up there and saw it twice, on the way up and once on the way down. The other tragedy, the 4th person who died, was at Camp 2. And it's not clear the details. Apparently the person was resting, probably had some sort of edema, a cerebral edema, maybe pulmonary edema. It's not clear. But just sobering news. Fortunately, Johnny is fine. He finds it a bit harder than expected, which is slightly surprising, but it maybe, it's just the altitude, the intensity of the whole thing is doing, but his spirits are high and he's performing well, so there's no problem on that front. Now he's going to rest at base camp as we speak. It's May 2nd right now, and he will be there probably until about May 5th. It depends on the weather window. Once the weather window opens up that's nice and positive, then all of a sudden it's good news for him and he's going to be able to just get going and just start heading out to the top. 1 week it will take him to get to the top, stopping at base camp 1, 2, 3, 4. The reason he doesn't have to go through the Khumbu Icefall, which is pretty smart, he only has to go through it 4 times, is that they acclimatize on a different mountain. A lot of people don't do that. They go through the Khumbu Icefall 6, sometimes even 8 times. And luckily, in his case, he's minimizing the risk because it's the Khumbu Icefall, even though it's at the bottom of the mountain, which is the most dangerous part, or at least the most random. It's like playing Russian roulette, as evidenced by the fact that 3 Sherpas already died. That shows you how random it is. These guys are in great shape, but boom, doesn't matter how good of a shape you are in when a big block of ice falls on your head or you fall through a crevasse and the ropes aren't able to hold you. So that is the news from Mount Everest, and now I turned to Johnny Ward in my interview with him in Mauritania. Don't forget to subscribe and like this video and podcast. Share it with your friends. This is France Tapon encouraging you to wander and learn. Go to wanderlearn.com. And now, Johnny Ward about international relations and how it helped him look at the world. Now, you studied in university international economics.
I did.
And what did you learn in your travels about international economics that you did not learn in school?
Do you know, I find this really interesting. First of all, I discovered that unless your 3rd level education is vocational, like you're learning to be a dentist, so you need to learn about teeth, right? Or you're learning to be a vet, you need to learn about animals. You learn to plaster a wall, you need to learn how to be a builder. Mm-hmm. Unless your degree is vocational, it's basically a waste of time. Yes. It's just not like kind of empty knowledge from books, like. Right. So that's the first thing. And then to twist the question into something I'm more interested in terms of international economics, I think so I've made quite a lot of money from my blogs and now I'm financially free and all this, and I find that the entrepreneurship stuff that I've learned from my travels is a lot more interesting than the actual international economics. I feel like when it comes to like geopolitics and international economics, it's a tough old boys club to crack into. It's just a lot of elite people in every country in the world taking more than the cream off the top, and then we're fighting for scraps. And I know that, right? But I'm not going to sit and be a victim about it. So I just go and do my own thing. And then when I'm traveling in countries that are less developed, in Ireland or Europe, even in Thailand where I'm based now, is that like, first of all, you have to shut your mouth and hustle. That's the first thing you need to do. And second of all, like, you need to not be fearful to start something. Every person that I meet in the developing world has always got an eye on doing something. You know what I mean? They're planning to buy and sell this, they're doing this and that. Whereas we're in the West so ingrained into this 9-to-5 system that we even from primary school and then high school and then university and then this whole graduate scheme concept, and then you're fully in the office, or even if it's remote, 9-to-5, and we are so conditioned to that we feel like the only way to be a success, both financial success in terms of your bank account, but also success in terms of going back to your parents and having a dinner party and then telling you that, oh, their son's a banker or my son's a dentist. We're so ingrained into that the only success that we believe stems from that, whereas the success that the developing world tries to find is on their own terms. If they want to be wealthy, they can hustle and be wealthy. If they want to be a family person, they can be a family person. And I find that that's a huge difference. And I find that I've taken a lot of that, and I try, and we've got a lot of fear of failure, whether it's tied up with ego or anything, whereas in the developing world, they know that they're struggling. There's no shame in that, and they're trying their best to break out of that struggle. And if they try and fail, eventually they might try and succeed, and there's no ego in failing because it's so obvious that they're trying to break their own cycle. It's cool.
So you've been to every African country. What would you say about why Africa is economically, by most measures and metrics, behind these other countries that have, you know, their kind of 9-to-5 ethos and that kind of stuff? What explains for that difference?
Oh, you need to be a lot more educated than me to answer that. I did actually read a book about development historically over millennia that suggested the reason that Africa, as an entire sub-Saharan Africa, as an entire continent, has basically failed to develop is that their climate and the livestock and the food that they can grow has limited their development. So in Europe,
you're talking about Guns, Germs and Steel by Jared Diamond?
Maybe.
Probably. Yeah,
And
Europe, sounds like it.
Yeah, and in Europe we were blessed with temperate seasons. Yeah. Then it could allow us to harvest our food, and then eventually we could go on to create third level education, and then of course we develop it. Whereas Africa,
the book starts off with Papua New Guinea.
Yeah.
That's Guns, Germs and Steel by Jared Diamond. Yeah, I am familiar with that thesis. And that ends this episode of the WanderLearn podcast, where we explore travel, technology, and transformation. If you'd like to see the show notes with links to what we've talked about, go to wanderlearn.com and click on this episode. If you'd like to connect with me, just remember Tapon. That's my first initial and my last name. Tapon is always my social media username. My website is ftapon.com. Do you want to leave me an anonymous voicemail where you can make a comment or ask a question? Then go to speakpipe.com/ftapon. Furthermore, if you'd like to get rewarded for supporting my projects, then go to patreon.com/ftapon. That's where you can pick up some remarkable rewards for as little as $2 a month. Now, 5 quick favors. Number 1, subscribe to the WanderLearn podcast. 2, download it. 3, share it. 4, review it. And 5, sign up for my newsletter at wanderlearn.com. Our theme music was composed by Eric Stratman. This is Francis Tapon, encouraging you to wander and learn.